Monday will mark 3 years since the most destructive fire in Colorado history. The Marshall Fire destroyed more than 1,000 homes and 30 other structures. According to Boulder County, more than 103,000 tons of debris and ash were removed after the fire. Thanks so much for joining us this Friday evening. I'm Mark Salinger. 60% of affected households have completed their rebuilds and moved into new homes. Another 20% are in the process of that rebuilding. In that process, one contractor admits that he took advantage of people in need and stole more than $1 million. Now News reporter Colton Chavez is in Boulder this evening. And Colton, today we found out that man is going to prison.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Mark. Leonis Scott, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Prosecutors say that he accepted over $1 million for jobs that he never completed. Now, back in October, Scott did plead guilty to stealing $1.3 million from 4 families whose homes were damaged or destroyed in the Marshall Fire. The Boulder County Sheriff's Office said Scott entered into separate contracts with each of these families with no intention to use the money to rebuild their homes. Court documents say Scott instead spent the money on things like a new truck to the tune of nearly $60,000. So tonight I asked Boulder County District Attorney Michael Doherty what it means to see this case come to a close.
Upon people when they were at their most vulnerable. So these are people who suffered devastating consequences related to the Marshall Fire and were trying to rebuild and put their lives back together. And he took advantage of them in those moments. So we wanted to make sure he was held fully accountable. And with this 10-year prison sentence and over $1.7 million in restitution, we believe we've secured the right outcome.
As you just heard Doherty mention, that $1.7 million that Scott was ordered to pay back. Well, Doherty tells me that the courts have a procedure in order for any money Scott makes or has will then go in the process of being paid back to those families. In Boulder tonight, Colton Chavez, 9 News.
That crazy to think 3 years that it's been. Colton, appreciate it. Thank you. A new study out of CU found that for months after the Marshall Fire, people returning to homes that survived the flames struggled with health problems and poor air quality. Half of the residents who returned home after the fire reported health problems, things like headaches, sore throats, or a strange taste in their mouth. Researchers at CU are now blaming that on poor air quality inside of homes. They hope their findings can be used when responding to the next large wildfire, kind of like we saw in Hawaii last year.
They wanted to know what they were smelling, what they were exposed to. They wanted to know if it could have any impacts on their health. So we have now really, really great data on what the impact can be. And every home and every fire is different, yes, but it still helps us understand what these impacts can be.
So, for example, measurements inside one home found things like volatile organic compounds and higher levels of copper, zinc, arsenic, and industrial pollutants. They said they would need more studies to determine if those exposures could lead to long-term health problems down the road. Well, from fire to snow, and we're getting a lot of it tonight up in the mountains. Great news for the ski resorts on a holiday weekend, but you'll want to be careful if you're heading into the backcountry. The Colorado Avalanche Information Center says this is the highest avalanche danger that they've seen in a month.
We haven't seen a whole lot of snow in December, and that means the existing snowpack is really weak. And so as we get this new snow load on it, precipitation, wind drifting, that's what's going to increase the avalanche danger. And so we have a little bit of a perfect storm right now. We have a really weak snowpack. We have storms coming in that are going to bring this new load. We have a holiday weekend where people have lots of time off.
Experts are recommending to stay out of the backcountry, but if you can't help yourself, they say every person in your group should have the right training as well as an avalanche rescue transceiver, a probe, and a shovel. Also know how to use it. I want to bring in Corey Reppenhagen now because you heard him say there that it's kind of a perfect storm. And also the reason that it's set up this way is because of the lack of storms that we've had in December so far.
Yeah, that's exactly it. When Ethan Green there was talking about the weak layer, that formed over the 4 dry weeks from late November into December. And now all this snow that we've gotten over the last 3 days is going to sit on top of that and just slide right off. They're expecting hundreds of avalanches across the Colorado high country over the weekend. We can see these snow showers moving through tonight. As we zoom out on the satellite, you can see just a little bit of a break here. That'll be Saturday morning into late morning, and then Saturday afternoon, all this stuff is going to come in. So we'll have another wave of potentially heavy snow showers on Saturday into Sunday. Here's the forecast here for Denver, though. We have no precipitation in the forecast. We have high temperatures getting up there close to the middle 50s for you tomorrow. So that mountain snow, part of your headlines going all the way into Monday. Avalanche danger, as we were just addressing, all the way through Monday. And the warm weekend could include a 60-degree day on Sunday. The forecast is coming up in just a bit.
Corey, thank you. President-elect Donald Trump is asking the Supreme Court to press pause on the upcoming TikTok ban. Unless the Chinese-owned app is sold to a U.S. company, that ban is scheduled to take effect on January 19th, one day before Trump takes office. Today, he asked the justices to pause the ban so that his administration could try and find a legislative solution to keep the app running. Trump's incoming border czar is criticizing local governments that plan to protect people in the country without proper documentation. Tom Homan called out sanctuary cities that are planning to require the feds to get a warrant for people in their jails. We don't know yet if that'll happen here in Denver. We've heard Denver Mayor Mike Johnston calling for civil disobedience to protest Trump's mass deportation plans. Trump has said those efforts will start on his first day in office and will start right here in Colorado, calling it Operation Aurora. In an interview with NBC today, Homan said he'll consider bringing back family detention centers.
People need to understand it's not in we say detention, but it's not in a jail setting. This is actually an open air campus, family type facility that is open air, right? So we're not talking about razor wire and a penal institution, things like that. They have childcare, they have education and programs.
Homan said the number of detention facilities would depend on how many people have been detained. ICE operated 3 at the end of the first Trump administration. Homan oversaw Trump's zero-tolerance policy in Trump's first term, which allowed kids to be separated from their parents. The ACLU already says it plans to challenge Trump's deportation plans. Well, thousands of minimum wage workers in Denver are being underpaid. That's according to the Denver Auditor's Office. The city says its Division of Labor helped more than $2 million be recovered in restitution payments for workers that were being underpaid. More than half of that was owed to minimum wage workers who weren't paid the full amount. On January 1st, Denver's minimum wage is set to go up from $18.29 an hour to $18.81. The city auditor says it's critical businesses and workers pay close attention to their paychecks.
I mean, people are entitled to get paid what the law says they should be paid, and sometimes it does result in a pretty sizable check, which is meaningful to people who are making the minimum wage because the rent has to be paid, groceries have to be paid for, etc.
If you notice something off with your paycheck, the auditor says to check with your employer first. If that doesn't resolve it, you can file a complaint anonymously with the Division of Labor. We have more information on how to do that on this article at 9news.com. Well, 1 in 9 Coloradans are experiencing food insecurity. It's part of why 9 News has partnered with Food Bank of the Rockies to extend our 9 Cares Colorado Shares food drive this year. Tonight, our Byron Reed shows us how this partnership is helping families facing some tough times.
Spending time helping others can teach valuable lessons.
So I used to work for Colorado Department of Human Services and then the Postal Service.
Patricia Heeb has learned the importance of giving back through her years of service.
I'm a social worker, and one of the things that I discovered working in human services for as long as I did is that information is not always volunteered. If you don't know the right questions to ask, you don't get the answers that you need.
He found answers through the Food Bank of the Rockies after she and her family hit tough times.
Unfortunately, my husband got sick and I had to take care of him. He ended up with a really bad eye infection. And so I ended up losing my job with the post office. and stuff, so we're living on his income.
The food bank has helped more than 400,000 Coloradans this year through their community partnerships and services by providing equitable access to 93 million pounds of fresh food.
Without the food bank and the services they offer, we would probably be living in our car.
The group partners with more than 800 hunger relief organizations to address food insecurity for Colorado families like Patricia's.
It's just been very stressful for my husband and I. And then we kind of made this decision to take in the 15-year-old so that he could finish high school.
Hebe says she's always helped others. Now she's grateful for the helping hand.
I've always donated at King Soopers, if I went to Wendy's, I'd round up. I've always done that to help out others. And now, fortunately, it's there to help me.
It's a lesson about donating time that Patricia wants to pass along.
Put yourself out there, volunteer.
So families who find themselves in need can get back on their feet.
Time is a precious commodity, and if you have time, use that time to help others, because every second you spend helping others lifts others up.
In Denver,
I feel good about the fact that I helped and that it has come full circle.
Byron Reed, 9 News.
And you have a few days left to help feed our neighbors in need. 9 Cares Colorado Shares runs until the end of this year. You can donate by scanning the QR code on your screen. You can also make a donation when you're checking out at your local King Soopers. Well, we are in for a special treat tomorrow, sports fans. The biggest football Saturday, perhaps in Colorado, that we've ever seen. So we want to start with the NFL. The Broncos have a chance to clinch their spot in the playoffs with the win over the Bengals in Cincinnati. Coincidentally, the Broncos have been in a similar place before. The last time they made the playoffs, back in 2015, the Broncos were coming off a 34-27 loss to face the Bengals on December 28th. So we'll see if history repeats itself tomorrow. I want to talk about the rest of the Saturday slate as well. Our 9 News sports team will be on the ground for all the action tomorrow all across the country. Stotty Gange is in Cincinnati. Ashley Moore is covering the Rams in the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. And John Treach is in Texas following the Buffs in the Alamo Bowl. We'll be live everywhere all day long tomorrow.